Hey Star Warriors, Star Geek here, to talk about the biggest news in Episode 7 history, the release of the Force Awakens teaser trailer. If you haven't seen this trailer yet, go watch it right now by clicking the link in the description. And am I excited for this teaser or what? I absolutely loved every single scene. After watching this trailer many times, I know exactly what I want to talk about in this episode. Let's go shot by shot and I'll analyze and share my opinions on this highly anticipated trailer. The scene opens with a shot of which I can only assume is Tatooine. When I first saw this, it looked like a bunch of poorly rendered CGI, but after each viewing, this barren desert has seemed to flow much more naturally. This is of course when John Boyega pops onto the screen. Right off the bat, we notice that all of the speculations were right. His character will be a stormtrooper of some sort. This scene actually spawned quite a bit of controversy. Some of my subscribers have even educated me in the comments on some of my videos with the knowledge that stormtroopers are not actually recycled clones, but recruits that believe in the cause of the Empire. This is exactly what has gotten people aggravated. Before starting this channel and meeting those of you who knew the truth about these troopers, I just assumed that all troopers derive from clone troopers, and so have many others. The fact that John Boyega does not look like Temuera Morrison, aka Jango Fett, with people specifically pinpointing his race, has gotten many fans ranting about the continuity errors, which is not actually true. John Boyega himself has spoken about the heated topic, saying, "To whom it may concern, get used to it." A perfect, classy way to tell off his racist critics. Getting back to the trailer, we notice that John Boyega's Stormtrooper character is sweating and breathing heavily, possibly awakening from a battle. And the iconic sound of an Imperial probe droid echoes in the background. In the next clip, we see what I have decided to call the soccer ball droid. This droid, designed off of Ralph McQuarrie's original concept for R2-D2, is surprisingly intriguing. The sound is refreshing, and the way of transportation is unique. The only thing that I'm slightly worried about with this quirky little soccer ball droid is that he, or she, will end up being the Jar Jar Binks of the sequel trilogy. As far as I'm concerned, this robot gets the green light from me, especially for its design. You can also spot some very familiar vehicles in the background. If you've been following Episode 7 news for the past few months, you should know about the leaked TMZ The Force Awakens set images. These two vehicles and/or structures can be seen next to John Boyega and other crew members. This long gray engine type thing can be seen in these photos, and this speeder appears in these leaked concept art images, hidden inside this collapsed AT-AT. This also links to the sideways foot of an Imperial quadruped walker leaked in this image. This is actually my favorite concept art image from the leaked group, so any clues that point to this being a reality gets me extremely excited. I'm guessing that this structure will be the hideaway for an upcoming character. The next few clips are of course the new stormtroopers preparing for battle. We've seen the design for these sleek new warriors before, but just seeing them in a group with their blasters really adds to their greatness. Now let's analyze these commandos. First of all, I just want to point out that for all we know, one of these troops could be John Boyega's character right before the opening sequence. It does appear that they are landing on Tatooine, judging by the sand and moisture evaporators barely seen through the opening ramp. The blasters used by the infantry are surprisingly unique. They go by in a flash, but if you pause the trailer, you can see the weapons are actually white to match the color of the armor, and have accessories such as blinking lights and scopes. That is what mostly appears to be viewable in this sequence. This next one is a big one, introducing Daisy Ridley's character. I don't know why, but right off the bat I could tell that she is going to be a very interesting figure. The way she dresses is very interesting. She is clearly made up for desert life, which means she probably inhabits a homestead on Tatooine. Possibly the AT-AT I was talking about earlier. She sports some very cool goggles and a head wrap that fits into the surroundings. The key feature about this scene is of course the speeder. The boxy design and grungy look definitely feels like Star Wars. Even the extremely small and pointless windshield that so many vehicles from the saga seem to include. The engines, air vents, and worn exterior fits Daisy Ridley's character and action. Another interesting feature is the spear-like weapon attached to the side of the hovering crate, only seen in this one clip before it disappears here. When we look at the hilt, we can see that it shares a similar design with the lightsaber or Tusken Raider gaffy stick. Why it disappears here, we may never know. To end off this clip, let's look a little bit further than just the main subject. In the background, we can see the sparse town that Daisy Ridley is speeding towards. Along the horizon of what looks to be a small spaceport like Mos Eisley, we can spot the air tower leaked in this TMZ image a few months earlier. There are a few other unrecognizable structures scattered about the screen that we will hopefully end up getting more familiar with over the next few months. Now this next scene really got me excited. Here we have Oscar Isaac, one of the new cast members and the last face to be revealed in this trailer, dressed in his Rebel pilot gear. So now we know that Oscar Isaac's character will definitely be working for whatever the rebellion became after the defeat of the Empire. When we look at the components of this scene, we can notice that the Rebel seal looks very similar. In fact, it hasn't changed at all. But what has changed drastically is the helmet design. While the original helmets never really followed a specific pattern or design, the A-Wing fighters did. The The reason I mention this is because the A-Wing pilot helmets look much closer to this new helmet than the old X-Wing design. Another difference between Oscar Isaac's interior X-Wing is how much room there is. When you look back at the old X-Wing cockpits, you get a feeling of claustrophobia. Everything is so cramped. This new cockpit has lots of room, enough to let Isaac reach his whole arm across the screen. Other than that, there isn't much different about this vehicle interior. New color scheme and much more room. But this upcoming clip is my favorite scene in the whole trailer. The new X-Wing design, brand new planet, perfect CGI, fantastic surroundings, and all-around classic Star Wars magic. I love this scene, so let's talk about it. First of all, the water splashing out behind the X-Wing trio looks very natural. The lake looks real and seems to be the perfect setting for this sequence. Mountains in the background are getting me excited for a brand new planet, because while some believe those hills to be native to Yavin 4 or Endor, I see them as part of the planet featured in the leaked concept art and shot location video. I'm guessing that these X-Wings are either getting ready for battle on the surface after leaving their nearby base, or preparing for takeoff into space. Now let's look at the main subject here, the X-Wings. A few months ago, I uploaded an episode talking about the new design for the blue X-Wing, after J.J. Abrams released another Force for Change video, showcasing the ship with a pilot climbing aboard. If you want to see more of an in-depth talk on the new design, click the link in the description. Seeing it standing there is one thing, but watching it in flight is completely different. The glow of the engines, the movement of the body, and the piercing of the wind. I really can't wait to see more of these blue wonders. So the next scene is probably one of the most talked about on this whole trailer. Our apparent villain enters the screen, and that's when we see the first lightsaber of the sequel trilogy. But before I talk too much about one of the most controversial topics in this trailer, let's look at the surroundings. The planet that this cloaked figure walks around on seems to be made up of snow, although it could be seen as volcanic ash. The trees are barren and fallen over, which could be the result of either the winter season or a great fire. Signs are definitely pointing to snow though. Rumors have leaked that there would be a new forested snow planet, and this flurry definitely looks ominous. So this character comes angrily storming through the forest and ignites his blade. We don't exactly know who this is, but my guess is that Adam Driver will be our villain, and cloaked mystery figure. So let's look at the lightsaber. Not only was this the first lightsaber scene of the upcoming trilogy, but it's also very unique. When you look at the sword, you can see that it has some distortion and electric bolts flaring off of the unstable blade. This could be the result of a faulty construction, or it could be a saber built using a synthetic crystal. But that's not what's interesting about this sword. You just might have noticed two little side blades pop out from the hilt. This little crossguard feature has received tons of controversy. I agree with many others when I say that those little tidbits on the side seem to be an incredibly useless addition. George Lucas always talked about making everything look practical, efficient, and not just added for design, but those mini sabers extruding at the hilt adds nothing to the overall utility of the weapon. Overall, this is a very cool looking lightsaber, but the useless crossguard blades are getting me skeptical about this villain's weapon preferences. And the last clip of this trailer, the most exciting and nostalgic scene yet. The ship treasured more than any other in the galaxy, the Millennium Falcon. This scene is intense, fun, action-packed, and has the Millennium Falcon, everything you need for a perfect sneak peek. When we look close, there are a few things you might have missed. For example, here are a few of J.J. Abrams' iconic and beloved lens flares. Yes, it seems he didn't even spare Star Wars of his obsession. And when we look closely at the TIE fighters, we can see some unnoticeable but major differences, the biggest being a completely new color scheme. It goes by in a flash, but if you look closely you'll notice that these TIE fighters do not sport the iconic black with blue trimming, but rather a light gray with black trimming. To give us an idea what this may look like, here's a picture of an original trilogy TIE fighter, compared to my renditions on what these new twin-ion engine vehicles may look like. But enough on those tiny vehicles we only get a glance at. Let's talk about the new and improved Falcon. It soars into the sky above a barren but rocky desert and takes a nosedive while dodging attacking TIE fighters. The Millennium Falcon looks better than it ever has, with the perfect amount of grunge, beauty, sleekness, and age. The one difference that you may or may not have noticed about the Falcon this time around is its sensor dish. If you remember back in Return of the Jedi, Han made it very clear to Lando that he didn't want anything to happen to his beloved Millennium Falcon. Of course, Lando promised him that not even a scratch would lay damage upon this treasured vehicle. But while Lando may have meant what he said, he certainly couldn't keep his promise, and one of the defining features of the Falcon, the sensor dish, was blown from the hull. We never saw what happened to the Falcon after that, and the last time we ever saw it fly was when it sped out of the second Death Star. Dishless. So how did they replace the missing disc? Well, as you can see here, and in these leaked set photos, the iconic round sensor dish has been replaced with a rectangular one. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about this. It's like making the Death Star's super laser focus lens a square, or C-3PO's stomach piece a triangle. It just isn't right. But I'm sure that I'll grow used to the new addition. Besides, the Millennium Falcon will always be the same ship on the inside, regardless of the exterior plating, which this trailer showcases very well. And finally, to wrap up this video, let's talk about the ominous voice that speaks throughout this teaser.
There has been an awakening. Have you felt it?
The voice that sounds like it would be our villain is actually Andy Serkis. In case you didn't know, Andy Serkis is a motion capture actor best known for his role as Gollum, or Smeagol, in the Lord of the Rings saga. No one knows for sure what role he'll be playing, but it may very well be the villain who wields the electric blade. In the beginning of the video, Serkis mentions awakening and asking if someone had felt it. This, to me, seems like a thing Vader may ask the Emperor, acting as a messenger for the main boss. This line also makes me think that a new Jedi has been born, maybe John Boyega or Daisy Ridley, especially after this voice mentions the light side. But it also mentions something about the dark side, which may mean that a new Sith has been born. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. And we end the trailer off with the iconic sound of Luke's first lightsaber. That's actually the very first lightsaber sound the world ever heard, when Obi-Wan gifts Anakin's saber to Luke. This trailer marks the start of a new film, a new trilogy, and a new adventure. I love the trailer and can't wait for the movie. Star Wars Episode VII: The Force Awakens opens in theaters on December 18th, 2015, just over a year away. Subscribe to Star Geek for weekly Star Wars content. If you agree with my opinion, learned something new, or just enjoyed the video, please shoot that like button at light speed. You can go check out my Facebook page linked in the description below, as it really helps me out when you like my page. If you go over to the page, you will get daily news on Star Wars Episode VII, Star Geek episodes, memes, and even the trailer. Also go and check out my new Twitter account at StarGeekYT for tons of quick updates. Try clicking on the screen to subscribe and click on the link to the left for my last video, a Star Wars Thanksgiving special. You can also click on the right to watch my first Star Wars Versus episode, Han Solo vs. Luke. Don't forget to like the video and comment on your favorite part of the teaser below the video. Until we meet again in a galaxy far, far away, this has been Star Geek.